Hello, namaste, Hare Krishna. So yesterday we talked about yoga exercises, which can be incorporated in our daily routine to get the best benefit every day. Some yoga is really good for the health. But there are other forms of exercise too, not just yoga, in a Vedic kind of culture that can be followed. So one is walking. Walking is just so therapeutic. I mean, basically this material body is designed to move. So we always need to keep moving. One of the problems in modern day lifestyle is often in the work that people have in some factory and office, there's not much movement. And the body's not designed for that, so there's going to be problems. Even if you think you're eating the most healthy food, some organic salads and some smoothies or whatever like that, but if you're not moving, just sitting at the desk all the time, there's going to be problems. So obviously we might not be able to change our work into one that has more movement, at least all of a sudden. But at least before we go to work or have a break in the middle of the day or something, or after work, go for a good walk, a good brisk walk, or when you're on the weekend when you have time off, go for good long, fast walks. Another thing that's very good is swimming, bathing in the sea or a river. So according to the Vedas, bathing in the sea, in the ocean, is very good for our digestive system. And I'd actually noticed that since a young age, that after going into the sea, then I start to get some hunger pains and appetite coming up. So definitely there's a connection there. Actually it's explained that, well, in the Vedic culture it's understood there's personalities that control all aspects of this universe. So there's a person that controls the wind and the water and the sun and the moon. And and many cultures have that understanding. Maori culture in New Zealand, Aborigine culture in Australia, and a lot of old cultures, they have that understanding. There's different personalities controlling. So there's a personality that controls the ocean, is the same person that controls your stomach. So even our body parts, they're under the control of different personalities. We think we're in control, right? But actually we don't have much control at all. And we know that, right? Like, not everyone that has arms can use them, or legs can use them, isn't it? We have, quadriplegic, what do you say it? Paraplegic. That they handicapped in some way, that the arms don't work, the legs don't work. Or some people, not everyone that has a mouth can speak. What do we call that? Dumb. Not everyone that has ears can hear. We call that deaf. Not everyone that has eyes, but they can see. Blind. So who is it, or what is it that's sometimes the power is there in the senses, sometimes it's not there. So it's not in our control. Of course, no one wants to be deaf, no one wants to be lame, or dumb or whatever like that. But obviously we're not in control, so we take it for granted. And like I said, that's why in the beginning of our morning routine, when you get out of bed, bow down and say a prayer and, be grateful. Be grateful for what we have, and use the body and senses, mind, everything for a good purpose. Otherwise, if you don't use it for a good purpose, maybe one day the facilities might be taken away. Let's hope not. But yeah, it's a great responsibility having this human life. We should use it for a good purpose. Otherwise that facility will be taken away. Definitely at the time of death, if we misuse this facility, you won't get another human body, because we understand in Vedic culture also about reincarnation and also about karma. So if our karma is not very good, our activities, then when you reincarnate, you won't be getting another good human birth, with a silver spoon in your mouth, some lower in animal species or bird species, fish species, whatever like that. So it's a great responsibility. Take care, use it very carefully. So that's a little side point, but yeah. So that's going in the ocean is good for your stomach, and actually going in the river is good for your nervous system. Because like a same principle, the person in charge of the river is the same person that's in charge of your veins and circulation and everything like that. Actually, the word for river in Sanskrit is nadi, N-A-D-I, and the word in Sanskrit for your veins in your body, your arteries and veins, is called nadi. Same. So there's definitely a connection there. And and a lot of us have problems with our nervous system, right? So stressed and anxiety and fear and depression and so many things. So yeah, going for a bath in flowing water in a river. We're lucky we've got flowing. We're lucky to have a flowing river here. And we do take a dip in there, and we've actually got little waterfalls, and getting all that moving water flowing onto your head, onto your shoulders, your back, whatever, is so good for the nervous system. So yeah, we should take advantage of these things that are available around us. It's so good for our health. Unfortunately, most of us are in ignorance. We don't realize the benefits we can get from the nature and the environment around us, in the form of fruits and vegetables and herbs and the water and just looking at the beautiful scenery around us is very soothing on the mind and everything like that. And so yeah, those are very good exercise kind of things you can do: swimming and walking. And what's not recommended is exercises that cause you to breathe really fast, which is a lot of things that we do in especially Western countries, is running and sports like rugby, soccer, league, all these things, tennis, all these things where you're like running around and like huffing and puffing. That's not recommended according to the Vedic culture. And you might say, why not? That's crazy. These are really good for the health. So we'll explain that according to Vedic culture, your lifespan is measured by your breaths. So that means when you're born, according to your past karma, your past activities, you have a quota of breaths. And that's your life. So when you use up that 9,999,000 or whatever it might be, breath, when you use up that last breath, that's it. You're gone. So I mean, I had an uncle, right, and he's like this super fitness freak, running around doing all these sports where you're using up a lot of breathing, and his wife had a hole in the heart from a young age, had a pacemaker in her heart, and everyone's thinking she's going to die first, right, and he's going to live forever. But guess what? He died before her, and she's still ticking along with her pacemaker like that, just slowly breathing away like that. So he obviously used up his breaths, like that. No doubt that if you do all those fast breathing exercises, you may live a very good quality of life, healthy quality of life for whatever that period may be, 37 years and 6 months or whatever. But yeah, it might not be a very long life because you've used up the breaths. So in Vedic culture, what they try to do is slow down the breathing. And that's what the yogis do, getting back to yoga that we were talking about yesterday, pranayama, controlling the breathing and everything like that. So what they're doing in that process is slowing down the breathing so that, the quota's not changing, but just how quickly or slowly you use the breath, that's what you can change. So that by slowing it down, you can actually live longer. And why would the yogis want to live longer? That's also an interesting thing. Not because so that we can enjoy in this world for longer. No, not like that, sex, drugs, rock and roll. They don't do any of those things. So why they want to live longer is so they can have more time to get it together, to get our act together, because we're a bit, ignorant usually in this age, especially called Kali Yuga, which means the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Not very good symptoms. In this particular age, especially, we're very, very ignorant and slow to take up spiritual practices, and quite materialistic usually in that. So a few disqualifications there. So yeah, we need some more time as much as possible to become serious about spiritual practice and getting enlightenment or self-realization, spiritual realization. It takes time. So the more time we have, the better. Look, we don't want to die before we become fully enlightened, So that's some interesting thing there. Be careful with your breaths. And on a little, also connected, but not really to do with exercise or anything, is sex. The activity of sex uses up the breathing really fast, and we think we're enjoying it, everything like that. But actually, you're shortening your lifespan. An interesting shortening lifespan. And it's using up our vital energy. So if you keep this vital energy inside you, then the essence of our vital energy is actually semen. So it takes, I think, from memory, 40 drops of blood, to make 1 drop of semen. So your food is converted to blood, the blood's converted to semen. If you keep it inside you, it goes up to your brain, nourishes your brain, so you have a really good memory, and you can develop your spiritual understanding, whatever, pineal gland and everything like that, pituitary gland, and all that gets developed very nicely. But if you pass out that semen, then that vital energy is lost. And interestingly, very interestingly, and this is not coming from Hare Krishna, this was, you would have heard of Muhammad Ali, right? Who hasn't? A famous boxer, right? So his coach told him that the rule is, mate, that so many months before the big match, no sex. I wonder why. So even his boxing coach knows that, sex weakens the body, so he followed that, and that's probably one of the reasons why he became such a good boxer, and all the other ones failed because they're probably having heaps of sex. So, yeah, of course, I'm not putting down sex, of course. I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for sex. Our mum and dad came together. So, yeah, that's natural in the material world, of course, mating. But best is just to engage in sex for the purpose for which it was given, which is reproducing the species. And, which we wouldn't be reproducing the species every night, so... But we want to have pleasure, enjoyment of the genitals every night, or whatever, but that's not good for the health. So, I mean, it wasn't really part of the subject, but I'm glad it came up because it's very important, because we're talking about health, so that's a very important thing you can do for health. Just control that sex urge. It has its purpose, and a very important purpose, but has to be kept under control. And interestingly, we mentioned Ashtanga yoga system, eight parts of that. In the first part, I said the do's and don'ts, yama and niyama. So in that yama, one of them is brahmacharya, and brahmacharya means celibacy. So if even someone wants to become a yogi, advanced in yoga, he or she must be celibate during that period of yoga practice. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. However, we're going to explain to you one process of yoga called bhakti yoga, which is so powerful, this process of bhakti yoga, that even if you are have a husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, and sometimes engaging in sex or whatever. But this process is so powerful, bhakti yoga, that even in a family life situation, you can make heaps of progress, leaps and bounds of progress. No need to be like a celibate monk. because in most processes of spiritual advancement require celibacy. Even originally Buddhism and what's called Jnana Yoga, follower of Jnana Yoga, like that, the path of knowledge and speculation, that requires celibacy. You have to take sannyas, means completely renounce from being with the opposite sex and everything. So most, proper processes, you're not allowed to have any intimate contact with the man and woman. But yeah, Bhakti Yoga is so powerful. So yeah, we've talked about yoga, we've talked about other exercises, recommended ones that are not so recommended. Just one final thing about exercise, all these Western sports and that where you're running around and everything like that. I quite often, if I meet someone with got a leg in a cast or an arm in a cast, I'll tell them, I bet I know how you got hurt. It was from sports, right? And they go, yeah, it was the rugby or the soccer or whatever. So 9 out of 10 times, that was why the person got injured, because of sports. So what that fits into in terms of Vedic culture is the mode of passion, which in Sanskrit is called Rajaguna. So there are 3 different qualities or modes that operate within the material world, and we're going to be talking about these 3 modes in relationship to eating and different things as well. So these different qualities or modes control every aspect of the material world, right from the top to the bottom. And one is called the mode of goodness, which in Sanskrit is Sattvaguna. And that's symptomized by knowledge and happiness. So that's the effect if you're operating in that mode, is you get knowledge, it opens you up to receiving knowledge, and as a result of that, happiness. And then the mode of passion, as I was saying, Rajaguna, that's symptomized by intense activity, like frantic, intense activity, very passionate. And I want more and more money, greed and everything like that, more, and never satisfied and everything like that. And what does that lead to? Suffering. Like the guy's got the arm in a cast because some guy tackled him in rugby or something. And then there's the mode of ignorance, Tamaguna. And that's symptomized by just sleep, never-ending sleeping, and just daydreaming, night dreaming, daydreaming, and just laziness and, lethargic attitude, and can't be bothered and don't want to do anything and like that. I don't care. And just no knowledge, So if we want to have a healthy life, physically, mentally, intellectually, spiritually, so forth, then we want to try to be more in the mode of goodness and Sattva and avoid those other 2 lower modes. Avoid as much as possible the passion and the ignorance, because that leads to the suffering, and there's no future of that like that. So, okay, so now we talk about meditation. So just like yoga has become very popular and trendy and everything. So, and more important people doing it around the world. So also meditation. And I wonder why, because have you ever heard of stress before? Anxiety, depression, all these mental, emotional kind of issues and like that. That has gone up, exponentially over the last few decades, like skyrocketed. Like one guy was saying 50 years ago, the number 1 pharmaceutical medicine was aspirin, because you had a physical problem. You had a headache. Right? But you know what the number 1, pharmaceutical drug is now? Well, I know at least a few years ago. I might be outdated now. But it was like Prozac, like antidepressant. So we've gone from a physical kind of ailment that you broke your foot or something, to now it's like you got some mental problem. your just mind is so agitated and disturbed and everything. And that's actually another symptom of this age we live in. It's actually expected. If you know the Vedas, you would know that that's a symptom of the age we're living in, that above all of our, disqualifications, like I mentioned, we're slow and everything, other ones misguided, unlucky, quarrelsome, and like that. So apart from all these other ones, it says above all, we're always disturbed in this age. A lot of mental traumas and sufferings, and due to so many factors, there's many reasons why we have all these mental problems like that. But one good solution is meditation. Can help us with the mind to bring peace and calmness in our mind. I mean, even we see, even like schools in New Zealand, who would have thought, they're starting to introduce meditation to the kids from a young, and I agree. I mean, that's the best thing, is to start all these good habits young. If you're 89 years old and you want to start doing yoga and meditation, I mean, you can, but it's a lot harder. Better to start when you're 8 or 9 or 5, right from the beginning. Start these good habits, eating vegetarian, homegrown, organic, wholesome food, being in nature, doing yoga and meditation and stretching and blah, 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 and learning about the soul and karma and reincarnation and that. The younger you start all these things, the better, so much better. But if not, like they say, better late than never. But yeah, happy to see that a lot of schools around the world are starting up. Even some schools, Western schools, not Indian schools, they're teaching Sanskrit, because it's such an amazing language, giving such deep insights into all the real nitty-gritty in life that we need to know, who we are and why we're here and where we came from, where we're going and why we're suffering and what's the solution, the way out of it. So schools are starting to, some alternative kind of schools are starting to do that. Even mainstream kind of schools like that, yoga and meditation. Because what they're finding that we understand how some oldie who's fizzled out going to the office, every day is so stressed, needs meditation. But they've found that even the school kids come to school being so stressed out and they can't concentrate on their studies. So what's going on? Now even the bloody 5-year-old has got stress. So that's crazy. What kind of society? So like I said, this Vedic culture is so scientific and it gives good results, but we should look at what we're doing, our Western so-called advanced civilization, everything. Look at what are we doing, what kind of results are we getting. Even our poor little so-called innocent kids, they're fizzled out. They're not even a teenager yet, and they're already, mind is fizzled and so stressed and depressed and everything. So at least they're trying to find some good ways to counteract that with yoga and meditation. That's so good on them for doing that. But yeah, we need to look seriously at these things. So meditation, there's 2 kinds of meditation. Probably the most well-known common one is the silent meditation. Silent meditation, sort of very popular in Buddhism. They do some of that. They have the Vipassana, right? The 10-day, silence. You've got to be in silence for 10 days and everything. That's pretty austere. Not everyone can be prepared to do this. But I'm going to show you a kind of meditation that's much easier than that. You don't have to just be in silence for 10 days and everything. And but it's quite popular. Because you know why? Because we talk so much rubbish, isn't it? We talk so much rubbish. We get so fizzled, and our mind gets so fizzled from all the rubbish we're talking and hearing about that we just want to shut up. So if you don't know what to talk about positively, then better to shut up, and not say anything, be silent. But for someone that knows what to talk about, then you don't want them to shut up, So, yeah, we should speak positive things, beneficial things, hear good beneficial things. Otherwise, if it's all negative or whatever, then better don't talk and don't hear about it. Like sometimes people don't want to watch the news these days because it's so much bad news, so better we don't expose ourselves to these things. So, but actually the silent meditation is not recommended in this age that we live in, Kali Yuga, because it said our mind is so disturbed that the silent meditation is not so effective for such a disturbed mind, and it requires specific, criteria in order for it to work. Like ideally, silent meditation should be done in a very quiet, solitary place, like a forest. Now, put up your hand if you're living in a forest. I am, but not many people live in a forest. Most people live in cities, and that silent meditation doesn't work very well in a noisy, congested, disturbed city. You need a very peaceful, controlled environment, to get good results out of silent meditation like that. And like I say, silent meditation, that really only works if you're living a celibate kind of life. It can't overcome that, sex desires and lust and so much, whatever, very easily. It's not as powerful. If our mind is agitated, we won't be able to focus on the meditation. And also, what's the object of the silent meditation? It's anything and everything sort of people want to meditate on, which is not necessarily the best thing. Like a lot of people meditate on a light, a candle, the sun, their own breathing, or move through the body parts from the toes up through to the head and everything. So meditate on your own body. But the body's full of suffering. Why would you want to meditate on your body for? So a lot of these things is real speculative kind of processes. That's nonsense, actually. Sorry to say. But actually, according to the Vedas, explains the real object of silent meditation, which is, like I was saying in the last session, that the supreme, that yoga means to connect the individual soul, us, the Atma, with the supreme soul, Paramatma. And that's the meaning of yoga. Yoga means to link, to connect. So in this way, that the yogis, when they had perfected their breathing, controlling the mind, withdrawing the senses, like as I was explaining through these 8 processes of Ashtanga Yoga, finally it ends in meditation, dhyana, and then samadhi. So this dhyana, meditation, what are they meditating on? A white light of their breathing? No way. That's not the original yoga. The original yogis, they're meditating on the supreme being, the super soul within their heart. They're visualizing that supreme being. So they're seeing the form of the supreme being, Paramatma, in their heart. And how do they know what form to meditate on? Because first of all, they get a description from the Vedas. The Vedas has that much detail. We even know what the supreme being looks like, what his names are, where he lives, who his friends are, how he dresses, what he eats, everything. It's incredible. So all that's there, and the yogi would meditate on that form given in the description of the Vedas. And then when that meditation is perfected and they develop real love for that personality within the heart, and that's the samadhi point, then you can actually see with your eyes, like eye to eye, like we are seeing each other now. So just like that, they're actually able to see the Supreme Being, get complete realization, and that's self-realization. That's real self-realization, where you can see the Supreme Being and you've directly realized your eternal relationship with the Supreme, and in that state you're in complete ecstasy, you're a complete bliss in that samadhi state. So, but like I said, through the silent meditation, it's very difficult in the state. So what is recommended is mantra meditation. So mantra are like spiritual sound vibrations, transcendental words, not from this world. So words that are from beyond this world. Transcendental means above this world. And these spiritual sounds are non-different than the source of them, which is the Supreme Being. So they're different names and qualities of the Supreme Being. And by chanting these names, saying these names without using our tongue, our mouth and our tongue, and hearing with our ears, then it purifies the mind, purifies the heart. Our consciousness gets purified. At the moment, our consciousness is contaminated by lust and greed and anger and envy and pride and ignorance, madness, so forth. So to purify the consciousness, this mantra penetrates in to our ears and to our heart, our mind, and cleanses the consciousness, cleanses the mind. So it's a very powerful process, especially recommended in this current time where we have very disturbed minds. And the more disturbed your mind is, just chant louder. So it's recommended just chant softly so you can hear yourself. So like this has got 108 beads. So on each bead, there's so many mantras. Man comes from mantra. So man means mind and tra means to free. So these mantras help to deliver our mind, free the mind from all of our craziness and illusion and suffering and everything like that. So there are many mantras, but I'm just going to teach you one mantra, the most powerful mantra. This is called the Maha Mantra. Maha means great, and then mantra I've already told you. So this is the greatest of all mantras. It's just 3 words repeated in a combination of 16. Hare means the energy of the Supreme Person, and Hare is feminine, and Krishna means the all-attractive supreme male. So there's a supreme female, Hare, and the supreme male, Krishna, the original male and the original female. And then Rama means the source of all pleasure. So put up your hand if you want pleasure. So if we want to get the real pleasure, we have to connect with the source. Like if you want to get electricity, what do you have to do? You have to plug your socket into the wall, which is connected with the powerhouse. So this is connecting us with the powerhouse, not just these wooden beads, but especially it just helps us to know how many mantras we've chanted. There's 108 beads here, but these spiritual sound vibrations. So I'll just repeat it a few times to give you the idea. You can look it up, Maha Mantra. It's everywhere. Any Hare Krishna book has it or whatever like that. It's easy to find. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Next beat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Next beat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the idea is you just concentrate on the sound. You don't have to visualize anything. If something does come to mind, great. But you're not trying to visualize anything. All you're doing, you concentrate your mind on the sound vibration of these words. Whether you understand the meaning of them also, or whether you don't understand, it doesn't matter. It's like medicine, right? You know what the medicine is, you don't know what the medicine is, it'll work. Just take the medicine. So this is the medicine, and for all our problems. And I'm telling you, this solves all problems, And you could say, well, how is this? How is this going to solve our heart problem and our lung problem and our kidney problem and our leg problem and our back problem? But what are all these problems affecting? Your body and your mind, okay? But so all the problems are the body itself is the cause of the problem. The mind itself is the cause of the problem. But by chanting this mantra, when this body dies, you won't get another one. You won't get another material body. You'll be back into your spiritual existence. So at one stop, one shop, you got everything. So if you perfect this, you'll achieve what's called moksha or mukti, which means liberated. Liberated means freed. You'll be freed from all suffering. So we can try to help keep the body working for a while, but even you do this, I'm suggesting all this morning routine and everything, it's not going to live forever, and so this old age will come, it doesn't matter what you do, or disease will come and death will come. But what you can change is when death takes place, you can have some influence that you don't take birth in another material body. And that's the science of Bhakti Yoga. And the main part of this science of Bhakti Yoga is chanting this mantra. Will help us to achieve that complete freedom from all diseases like that, physical, mental, and so forth. And the ultimate beauty of it is that there's no hard and fast rules. Like silent meditation has heaps of rules. But this doesn't have any rules. You can chant in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the night if you can't sleep. If you're happy, you can chant. If you're unhappy, you can chant. If you're healthy, you can chant. If you're sick, you can chant. You know, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're black, you're a white, you're a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, an atheist, you know, a Kiwi, you know, whatever. You know, you can chant. It's non-sectarian, religious sort of thing. It doesn't really matter any condition of life. You just chant. It's so beautiful, and it's free. If you want to buy the beads, you can. But even if you don't have the beads, it's okay. But the beads do help to keep track of, how you're doing, how much chanting you're doing, developing some consistency in that. Anyway, I better shut up. I've gone beyond my half an hour. But there's a few comments and things here. Sam says, thanks. Oh, that's good. Great. Janet says, great to listen to your information while having my prasad. You're welcome. Juliet, I had no idea about the breaths. So interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating, our breaths. Take care of your breaths, Juliet. I remember 35 years ago hearing from an All Black that they weren't allowed sex before a match. Well, there you have it, confirmed. Even the All Blacks knew it. No sex before the big match. Well, there you go, 35 years ago. Wow. Sam says, such an interesting thought, and appreciate your time. Thank you. Yeah, you're most welcome. If some of, even one of you or some of you feel a little bit, tiny bit inspired or happier, then that makes me feel happy. Actually explain that's the essence of Vedic culture, is just to help everyone to be happy. That's the purpose of the Vedas. And it's said that that's the purpose of the Guru too. What is the ambition of the Guru? Just that people can be happy and get free from suffering. And suffering comes from bad karma, and bad karma comes from ignorance. So that's the Guru's business, is to give knowledge. The Guru's business is to give knowledge, and through that knowledge we can give up the bad karma and do good karma, and then there won't be, the suffering will gradually evaporate. So thank you very much. You take care, everyone.